There is the Innovation Week. It's happening at the University of Nairobi, and I have my panelists here with me. Dr. Tarja Fernandez, Ambassador of Finland; Ndichu, Head of Digital Finance Services, KCB; Ronnie Osumba, Youth Enterprise Development Fund Board Chairperson; Dr. Tonny Omwansa from University of Nairobi is the CEO, Nairobi Innovation Week; and Professor Aosa from the University of Nairobi as well. We'll be speaking about the Innovation Week. The 2017 theme this time is Innovation to Solve Pressing Local and Global Challenges. Targets inventors using technology to address concerns such as food scarcity and climate change as well. That is the discussion we're getting into in just a bit, to find out where does that leave the youth in terms of financing, and also the Youth Enterprise Development Fund will be giving us the latest on that, just to see how much they can finance those particular projects and what are the possible solutions to the pressing local and global challenges. And we're getting into that discussion right about now. And gentlemen, let's start with the lady. Thank you so much for making time. What do you expect from this week? What are you looking forward to?
Well, I hope that after this week we have more information how to accelerate development results in the region. We are very proud to be part of this week. We have a delegation of 50 people from Finland, and currently just a side event is going on together with UNICEF on how to create sustainable development results through innovation and partnership. So I think after this week there will be new innovations, new ideas how to develop this region forward.
All right. Thanks so much. Now, let's bring in Tonny Omwansa, Dr. Tonny Omwansa from the University of Nairobi. I know you are the CEO of Nairobi Innovation Week and you're widely involved with this. What is it meant to achieve? Break it down for the viewers so that we understand exactly what this is supposed to achieve.
All right, thanks very much. We put together the concept of Innovation Week in 2014, and we ran it the first time in 2015, second time 2016, and now it's the third time. You know, we felt that there is need for private sector, government, academia, development agencies to work together for common goals of solving the various challenges we face through innovation. We see there is a huge opportunity for creating jobs, you know, when startups emerge out of the solving specific challenges. We see an opportunity in showcasing and increasing the visibility of the products that have been created. We see an opportunity to energize research to convert into commercializable products. We see an opportunity to grow policy and strengthen the policy environment. So when we run a 5-week, we normally do the first 2 days for side events. So we engage partners like, you know, Finnish Embassy, Barclays, KCB, Intel. We've got so many partners we work with, and all those activities are going on now. We've got boot camps, hackathons, workshop, policy engagement forums, and so on and so forth in different places. Then on Wednesday we do the official opening, and that's when the exhibition also starts. Currently we've got over 140 exhibitors on ground at the university. In different categories. And then we've got the official opening that will take place tomorrow. In the evening tomorrow, there's a grand concert. So if you want to shake a little bit and energize your creativity, that's the place to go, you know. And then on Thursday, we focus on specific thematic areas where we bring stakeholders to reflect in panel discussions and keynote presentations. The CEO of KCB will be giving a keynote speech tomorrow on Thursday morning. And then we've got panel discussions around thematic areas like SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, the future of universities, and so on and so forth. And then on Friday, we've got a pitching session. The Ministry of Industry, Trade and Cooperatives has cooperated with us over the last several months, and they've put together a set of top-in-the-range startups who will be pitching before we close at about 1 o'clock on Friday.
All right.
Yeah.
That's a very comprehensive brief. And one of the main things that has always been coming up is funding. And I'd like to bring in Ronnie Osumba for this, because you're the Youth Enterprise Development Fund Board Chairperson. How far can you go in terms of funding these creative ideas that Dr. Omwansa is talking about?
Thanks for having us on, Trevor.
Yeah.
First and foremost, let me just say I think it's a fantastic job that Dr. is doing. I've been involved with him all along. in different capacities. First with Safaricom in the first year, second with Oracle in the second year, now with Youth Fund. So I think it's a natural synergies that we have. But I mean, absolutely, innovation and creativity is one of the spaces that I think the government needs to continuously invest in. We obviously are not able to create sufficient formal jobs, and therefore we need to partner with people like Daktari and the university to create more space for young people to innovate. You know, recently, last week I think it was, I was in Kakamega, and we all know Kakamega is the home of cane eaters. And these young people who have come up with very innovative mobile cane crushers that creates, you know, juice on the streets. It's amazing. I mean, they've done a fantastic job. It's great innovation, but they do not have the support to then convert that into, you know, a commercialized innovation. So we absolutely have a role to play, identifying partners who can help with the research and the development, because again, we don't want to put in money after bad innovation, if there's anything like bad innovation, right? But we want to create that. The second thing we need to do, I think, as government and specifically as the Youth Fund, and this is something we're already pushing through, is that we need to have enough funds set aside for failure. You know, I think, you know, and I see my colleague from KCB agreeing with me, I think the credit space within this economy is so stringent that we do not invest in failure. We always insist on money back. That if I give you my money, I absolutely want to get my money back. But we are beginning to have this new thinking that investing in innovation and creativity will mean that we take some certain amount of risk and are willing to accept some bit of failure.
Yeah, and Eddie, Ronnie is bringing a very important subject, the risk involved. Yeah. How does the banks expect to navigate that sort of thing, so that even if you fund a particular innovation, it doesn't pick up the way it was expected, then you don't exactly auction everything that young man has.
No, absolutely not. And I think just to comment from my colleague's comment, there's nothing like a bad innovation. There's only learnings from the innovation. And I think if you take that perspective even into funding those ideas and seeing how you can support those ideas, then you change your risk appetite and you start investing in the right things. The incubation of that business, really understanding if there's potential in that business to generate revenue, and the risk profile significantly changes if you're able to give them support, and if you're willing, I think, as an institution to say, we want to learn. So those are the things we have to look at. But we're very happy to be part of the University of Nairobi's Innovation Week. The bank has been around for 120 years. We've been innovating all the way through, but customer expectations over the years have significantly grown. So we're really excited about the great ideas we can pick out from this Innovation Week. We're passionate about two things, youth and technology, and sincerely believe that these are the two things that will drive development and growth for the future.
All right. And Professor Evans, Aosa, I know you're widely involved with the students. What are they expecting out of this, and what are you also expecting out of it?
Now, innovation is the engine of growth and development. Yeah. And we also know that in any country, the youth are persons who are an economic powerhouse in terms of ideas, in terms of adoption of new technologies, and so on and so forth. And the whole idea of the Innovation Week is to create a forum where we can be able to sensitize the youth in this country, and indeed other people in the country that have ideas to come forward through the activities of the Innovation Week and what goes on behind the scenes thereafter. Be able to link up people with ideas, probably with people that have the funding, and so that this together enables useful, beneficial business startups to get up. And this is really, if you look at developmental paths in the most successful countries all over the world, great ideas start small. And a person with a great idea brought together and assisted to nurture their idea, and that moves mountains economically.
Dr. Tarja, one of the main things that we're trying to focus on here is make sure that the innovations that are created by the young men also translates into jobs. One of the biggest challenges in this country has always been youth employment. How has Finland been able to deal with that? What are some of the things you think we could learn from that?
Well, I think when I was young, everybody wanted to get a job in university or as a diplomat and so forth. But my daughter's generation, they want to have a startup and create a company. So I think that's a very good way of getting into a work life. Of course, then it's a state business, it's the business of society to provide that space. And I think that's the Innovation Week is all about, to giving space, creating opportunities, creating imagination. Where can you go? The world has changed and the work market has changed, and startups are one part of this, not a solution to everything, but for some it can create job, but it needs the innovation part also to be sustainable.
All right. Dr. Omwansa, one of the main things I've also heard from the youth is that this was my idea and somebody stole it. So there's also the issue of patenting. How are you navigating that to ensure that the ideas that you see remain with the original engineers of the ideas? Because one of the reasons those ideas eventually fail is because when you hear me say something and you pick my idea but you don't know the background of my thinking, then all of a sudden it just stops midway without actually executing the whole thing, because it wasn't your idea to begin with.
Okay. Yeah, that's a very valid question, and it's very deep when you think about intellectual property. You see, we have three phases of intellectual property. You will create IP, you will protect IP, and you will exploit IP. Now, it's very easy to create IP and not protect it. And someone else can protect it and exploit it. Now, as long as it has come into public domain, the sense of ownership is lost until and unless you can show documentary evidence of protection. So we've partnered with the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Cooperatives, where the KIPI is based, and they are experts on intellectual property. We are also working with the Intellectual Property Office of the university. On ground in the Innovation Week, we've got specific booths on IP, just expose people on how to protect and exploit that IP. And by the way, there are people who also protect and never exploit it. And therefore it doesn't help anyone. You can probably license it off or spin it off into something else, or whatever you can do. But ideally it should be exploited. It's not enough to protect it. So as part of the education system, and Prof would tell you, is we are reflecting a lot on the way the education is delivered to expose people that it is not enough to generate ideas. It is also important to protect these ideas. Otherwise there's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah. Ronnie? What do you make of that? Because I know you're also quite involved with the youth on that particular subject.
Absolutely. I think there's a lot of education that needs to be done.
Yeah.
We go around the country telling young people that startup is the way to go, investing in entrepreneurship is the way to go, come up with great ideas, money always follows good ideas. We tell them all these wonderful things. Yeah. But the reality of the day is that young people across the country don't know how to protect their IP. They don't know what processes to undertake. They don't know where to go. They don't know who to talk to. And so I think it's an education that needs to be done, even as we encourage young people to go in this specific direction. Yeah. But we also need to understand that I think a great idea can only be implemented by the carrier of the vision. Yeah. Right? So we also need to not, hold back people in too much bureaucracy. Because, again, sometimes when we talk about IP and protecting IP, young people then shy off. Because they say, hatutaki ku engage sana na system. So you want to
circumvent the system.
They want to circumvent the system. And we want to encourage, flourishing of these ideas wherever they might be. Yeah. Eventually, yes, we need to teach them how to protect their IP, but we need to allow room for that innovation to happen in every little village space.
Eddie?
Yeah, and I think for young people and startups, I think having an idea is brilliant, but to put the word great before it, I think you really need to rely on partnerships. You need to find people who can support the idea and help you carry the vision of that idea all the way to fruition. One of the things I say to young people is, for the bank, for instance, it has access to a customer base, a distribution, and access to capital or investment. So we are probably one of the best partners to really seek out to. But there's also the bit of incubating that startup to getting to understand that, the big players don't come in to take your idea. It's in partnership that this can actually be a great.
But that is also one of the main concerns for the youth, because I for example, am speaking to you right now, but any ordinary youth from the street and they have an idea, can they get to you?
That's why we have Innovation Week, and that's why we are sponsoring Innovation Week. That's why we're actively participating to reach out and listen to great ideas.
Yeah.
So I'll ask all youth, other than the party tomorrow, try and get your idea out, and we'll be there to listen out to those great ideas.
Right.
It's something that our leader and our captain, Joshua, is very passionate about.
Ronnie, you wanted to jump in on that?
Yes, I just wanted to jump in on a thought that he's initiated around incubation.
Yeah.
I think we need to, invest a little bit more on incubation. We are partnering with the UN Habitat, for example, Youth Fund, to set up incubation centers across the country. Because one of the things we acknowledge is that young people, even when they have a good idea, or you said an idea, don't know who to go to.
Yeah.
So they don't know how to form these partnerships that it is talking about.
Yeah.
They don't know who is doing what in the industry.
Yeah.
So we want to create a single center of incubation across the country, in every county, where young people with an idea can go and seek assistance.
Yes.
So probably get some consultancy services to help them drive ideation to commercialization.
Dr. Tarja.
Yes, I would also like to promote the idea of open source innovations and the kind of innovations that profit everyone. We have collected a book of 100 social innovations from Finland that are really free to copy for everyone. So innovation can be your business and protected international intellectual property, but we also encourage the kind of open source and to everyone that will in the end benefit the whole society.
Yeah, well, Prof, I know you're also involved with the students a lot, and one of the things they say is that I have this idea, but I don't know who to go to, I don't know how to start it, I don't even know how to put it down on paper. I just know I have a concept of what I'm thinking. There's a way I know it can work.
That's right.
Yeah. So how do we help them build the idea, put it on paper, know from step one, this is where you need to start and this is where you expect to end?
Yes, very cool. This basically, as my colleagues are saying, again, is the essence of the Innovation Week. There is the awareness creation, but if you have an idea, there is a structured way that idea can be picked and can be built. That is very, very useful. It's also interesting, as I work a lot with students being at university, and I take a lot of courage in the fact that if you read some of the spectacular success stories in the world, they've started in residential, dormitory students. If you look at the IT world, social media, you find roommates at university coming up with an idea, and that idea grows into, look at the billions of shillings in terms of value that have been created by students doing term papers, students doing research at university, and coming out of their apartment. They started as roommates at university, and they now become multi-billionaire directors of big successful companies that have made a difference in the way we communicate all over the world. And so it is very, very important here that whether it is in a university apartment, or whether it is a youth out there that may never make it to university, the Innovation Week and all the things that go with it are meant to give these ideas a chance. The network of partners is very important, because an idea will not become a great idea, will not see itself to fruition unless you bring the person that has the idea, a person who will provide the technical support for the idea to nurture, the financier who will put in the money at the right time for the idea to mature and become, fully exploited.
And Dr. Omwansa, you mentioned this is not the first time this is happening. What were some of the most outstanding innovations you saw in the past? If you can think of maybe 2 or 3.
You want to get him started?
Yeah, I need to go into the archives and bring a list. But just to add on to Prof's observation, you see, the essence of incubation is to help something that is not well formed to take shape. And this is why Ronnie has to run all over the country and make sure that there are incubation centers which in a systematic way support these ideas to grow. get them with all the interventions that will come along the way. And then now in the universities, we are encouraging establishment of incubation hubs. At the University of Nairobi, we've got the C4D Lab, which initiated the Innovation Week, and we've got a systematic way of nurturing ideas. So we encourage students to come, and we've got a systematic process of taking them through. Into the ideas that have emerged, or innovations that have emerged out of the previous Innovation Weeks. One, I mean, I think I would put them in different categories. I'm not here to pitch for a particular guy, but I think in the context of policy environment, we've now moved in the direction towards centralizing coordination, national coordination of incubation programs in Kenya. You see, it's not smart when everyone wakes up and creates an incubation hub. Somebody got to get a sense of what are the needs, what are the strategic directions we're going as a country. Why shouldn't we have an incubation hub next to Lake Victoria that focuses on fish? We don't all have to do tech hubs, you know? And so we're going in a policy direction to try and coordinate that, and we've made significant progress in that direction. You know, we've got a minister, a PS now, who focuses on innovation within the Ministry of ICT. That's in the context of policy. In the context of education, now we've started academic programs that are focused on incubating and nurturing ideas. Things like design thinking have become common. There are a set of innovations that were exhibited in the previous year and have received funding. I do remember Equity Bank in 2015 came on ground and identified one particular product that was very impressive and says, I want to buy several millions worth of this product. We've got startups that now have got partnerships and others absorbed into telcos like Safaricom, and some of them will be pitching their work on Friday. We've got startups that have emerged and now are absorbed into incubation centers like MLab, and so on and so forth. So there's a list, there's an array of different products that have emerged out of the previous efforts that we've done.
All right.
Yeah.
And Ronnie, are the youth themselves prepared to take up these opportunities? Because the other issue that has also come up is that the youth are quite nonchalant. They're just waiting for the government maybe to come in and help, or to nomba serikali. They just don't want to do much. Yeah.
I think the youth, of course, is an extremely complex demographic. Yeah. We need to take time and understand what drives them, what forms their passions. And in doing so, then we try and respond to them in a way that makes sense to them. One of the greatest challenges I think I face today, dealing with a lot of partners across the country, government and non-government, is that the youth space has been commercialized. People acknowledge and appreciate this national crisis that we have in unemployment, but unfortunately a lot of people are commercializing that crisis. And so youth have reached a point where they are actually also a bit distrustful of interventions, you know, in the name of helping them gain employment. That said, nevertheless, I think we need to address two things. One, we need to address you know, the mindset of young people, to make them understand that going forward, the driver for growth and development is going to be innovation. And the more ideas we create, the more opportunities we create for our young people. But secondly, I think our education system also needs to be re-engineered to begin to focus young people, not just on looking, you know, forward to completing this, you know, 16 years of education to get a job. Yeah. Because unfortunately, when you ask averagely, when you ask young people, averagely, 80% of them will tell you, I expect a job when I'm done with school. We need to begin to shift their minds to begin to think entrepreneurial. But it starts with the education system, and it starts from primary school level.
All right. And Eddie, this is also one of the other things that the youth always bring up. Say I have an idea, you like it. Do I need collateral for you to help me? Because first of all, I don't even have the collateral. Sometimes they are asked for title deeds or something like that, or a logbook of a vehicle. Those are things they can only dream of. And then now the ripple effect of that means that if you don't have enough collateral for that startup, then it means you have to share part of that idea, so that it's not 100% owned by you, it's co-owned by somebody else as well.
And I go back to the area of, you will not always have 100% of everything to make an idea great. And today I find that I find youth create a lot of limitations for themselves. You know, not every youth with an idea has to work with KCB, right? Today technology is cheaper than ever before, credit is cheaper than ever before. We have a fantastic new product called KCB M-Pesa, where you can go into the M-Pesa menu and you can borrow for as low as 1% and a 2.5% arranging fee. Credit will never be cheaper than it is right now. So, and it's available in your M-Pesa menu. So today, you can access however much you need to access. It doesn't need to be 100,000 shillings. It could be 2,000 or 5,000 shillings to start your idea. And I think the youth need to get started. You know, there's hard work and commitment. But one thing I'll say to youth is, if an idea doesn't work out, don't dwell too much in it. Dust yourself off and get to the next idea or iteration of that idea, so that you're able to make progress as you get on.
All right. And Prof, you already alluded to this, and there's a Mushene Kamau on Twitter. He says, is the innovation the future a youth domain only? Why not focus on supporting good innovation ideas and not the age bracket?
Okay, right now, one can see why there's a lot of emphasis about the youth. We're talking about the crisis of employment. And therefore, when we talk about dealing with that problem, we talk about the youth. But from a business perspective, youth is really not just about how old one is chronologically. There can be people who are my age, but who are young in the mind.
They identify as youth.
Yes, they identify as youth. So in other words, we are not locking out good ideas from people who don't fall in the bracket called the youth. In other words, everywhere there are ideas which can grow into successful companies, into successful ventures. All those are the kind of ideas that we ought to pick and nurture.
Dr. Tarja, the other argument is that employment doesn't just affect the youth, and in the youth in this case, we're talking about 18 to 35. It goes beyond that. So how do we plug that gap?
Of course, innovations and startups, that's one way of creating jobs. As I said, it's not the solution, but it's one of the solutions, and we are very much looking for that. I would also like to comment on the funding and I just want to flag that the kind of events that Innovation Week is today. We have in Finland the kind of time of the year, dark outside, slush on the ground. You just want to sit inside and innovate. 20,000 people participating, good ideas, old or young, and the financiers, they come in, they find the good sustainable ideas, and it's a match. So I think Innovation Week is going that direction also, and it's a good platform to move forward.
Yes, something you mentioned about the book. I'd like you to talk us through it more, because you mentioned it in passing. You said there are ideas in there. Can people just borrow them and own them, or what happens? The book you have.
Well, innovation, of course, can be finding technology solution, like in East Africa. M-Pesa is a good example that has a deep social impact in the whole world, and especially in this region. But the ideas can be also how you organize your society. I just want to mention maternity package that we have had since 30s in Finland. We had one of the highest maternal mortality in the world, and it went to the lowest. Giving a maternal package where the child can sleep in a safe way, the cradle mortality rate went down drastically. The mothers were encouraged to go to maternal clinics where they got this package, otherwise they would have not been entitled to that. And just creating ways of running society, innovations in organizing our lives can really make huge difference.
Okay. And Dr. Omwansa, we are coming to an end on this, but I know this is not the first time you're doing it. What are the challenges you faced previously, and how have you plugged them this time?
First of all, when we put together this concept, we saw it as a 10-year plan to build a global forum in Nairobi. So in some years down the road, it's not about Kenyans gathering together. It's about the whole world knowing that any innovations to do with Kenya and the region is found in Nairobi. Let's go, all right? And we are working in specific ways in that direction. We have a lot of support from the university leadership for that purpose, and we've built very strong partners and sponsors behind it. Now, of course, when we started, some people are confused whether it's a conference, others would tell you it's an exhibition, others think it's a show, you know, and there are all manner of things. And people used to ask, well, young man, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah.
You know, so understanding, appreciating. But we were convicted, we know where we're going, and we will carry people along, we will expose and educate people as we go along. Of course, for you to do a good event, you need resources. You know, it's financial, it has a cost implication, and then you need the kind of partners that also buy into it. For me, if you ask me personally, the greatest challenge I got is that I didn't get people who also see it the same way as I see it in their own organization. Look, we're going to announce the date for 2018. All right, at the Innovation Week of 2017. I would like KCB to put it in their calendar. It's not about University of Nairobi, it's not about Kenya, it's about everyone, right? Plan for it and let's gather together so that it is not an event of one institution, it's our own mission as a nation. That's how we will change our education system. The more people talk about it, the more they get involved and so on and so forth.
All right.
And I'm looking more for people fired up to make a contribution and volunteer ideas. It's not good enough also to put resources, financial, and then put a checklist and say, if you make Innovation Week look like this, then that's a good thing. No. That's not how we're going to change the country.
Okay.
It means you and I get together, bring the ideas, what value can we create when we commingle together?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Ronnie, we have to give you the chance to give a parting shot to the youth really fast as we wind
Absolutely.
up. Yes.
I mean, young people get very confounded with these very technical terminologies that we throw out from Nairobi. I think the best thing to tell young people is innovation. Innovation is simply a new way of doing something.
Yeah.
It is looking at your local environment in Kakamega, in Lamu, in Wajir, and finding an opportunity, a gap, a need that needs to be addressed, and finding new ways of addressing those needs. That's innovation.
All right.
So the solution, the opportunity for entrepreneurship, the opportunity to innovate actually just lies in your village, probably even in your home.
So you don't have to look too far. Eddie?
No.
Well, yeah, like I said, you know, technology is cheaper than ever before. We've made credit more accessible than ever before. Today, all you need is your phone and you can access the credit. We don't ask people to come for collateral anymore. And I think youth, it's to get very excited about the future, get very inspired about what the future holds, because there will never be a better time than right now to do or execute that idea.
All right, Professor?
Yes. One of the things I'd like to add on to what he said is that innovation is about thinking of new ways of doing things and doing things better. We have talked about ideas here, but let me look at my institution, University of Nairobi. Look at universities in this country and funding universities. For a long time, public universities have always believed that they are best funded by looking to treasury and getting everything coming in to get these universities moving.
All right.
With globalization in the sector, probably time has come for serious thought regarding financial innovation. How can we better fund our public universities?
Okay.
Obviously, the traditional mode of government fully funding its public universities is a thing of the past.
Okay.
The paradigm for funding public universities that was of that type may have been the vogue in the 60s and 70s. In the 80s, it ran into problems. In the 90s, serious problems. And in this century here, you become a dinosaur as a public university if you look to treasury and expect 100% funding.
So will the University of Nairobi be able to bridge the gap that they're facing right now?
This is the challenge here, and that is why we're talking about not only innovation in terms of ideas, coming up with new products. It is important we also address the issue of financial innovation. In what other ways can University of Nairobi, in what other ways can other public universities innovatively mobilize resources
And generate their own income.
and generate their own income, become self-sustaining?
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Dr. Tarja, parting shot.
Yes, partnerships, innovation, curiosity. I think that's what we need to move the world better direction.
All right. Thank you very much. Dr. Tarja Fernandez, Ambassador of Finland. Ndichu, Head of Digital Finance Services at KCB. Ronnie Osumba, Youth Enterprise Development Fund Board Chairperson. Dr. Tonny Omwansa from the University of Nairobi is also the CEO of Nairobi Innovation Week. And Professor Evans Aosa from the University of Nairobi. And I thank you for making time this morning. And if you have any idea out there, you know, it's happening at the University of Nairobi throughout this week. Go there with just the idea. You will be given everything you need to know.